Hey guys, my name is xOctoManx and this is part 2 of my Diablo style RPG series. This again is a Patreon supported tutorial series, so if you like to donate as well or become my patron, feel free to do so on patreon.com/xOctoManx. Okay, so in the first part we were able to actually move our character around by right-clicking around the scene. And when I hit play once again, I can go and click somewhere in here and my character is going to move around in here. So, but what I want to do in this part is I actually want to implement a 3D model. The Patreon already provided, so the next some minutes might not fit for you, but if you have your own model which is already animated and so on and so forth, make sure you just follow up a bit here and there, because everything about the animator and so on will be about the same. Okay, so again, the next some minutes are Patreon only, actually, because the folder structure and so on is not what you can use on your side. So the folder structure and so on the guy has sent me is about animations and some resources and of course 3D models as well. So we go into it, or actually you, my Patreon, you go into the models folder inside what the package has contained, and you just copy the complete stuff where the player is currently in. And in Unity itself, I just created a male player in a 3D models folder structure, so I can just actually just drag in all the stuff about the male player character. So I just take this folder in here, which contains all the FBX files, the TGA files for the textures and all the other things. I'm going to show you how this is going to look in a moment. And once everything is imported, we need to import another package in here, or actually another folder structure, which contains all the animations, since this particular model we are going to use, or I am going to use, has no actual animations. So we're gonna need to find a way to get the animations directly to the player, which are sitting in another folder in here. So I go back to assets, animations, and there is a root anims female folder, and just go and drag this one in here as well. Inside there will be some base meshes and everything else, and of course the most important one are the current animations directly from that base female mesh. And we want to route that to the currently rigged and already set up model, which I just got provided again by the Patreon. So once everything has been imported, we don't need all of that, but actually I just want to make sure that nothing is missing later on if we are going to create another or an extra structure for all of that stuff here and there. Once everything has been imported, you can see there are some warnings inside the console. Basically, currently we can just ignore them. You will see them later on when we go and use the current, or actually we're gonna fit the particular animations we are going to use. In this case, we start with 3 different animations. Maybe we go in and later on add some more. But we will fit the errors or warnings inside, so I can just clear the console so I don't get distracted by that. Okay, so to set this guy up, or our current player character, I just open the armor plate 01 in here again for the guys which are not being my Patreon. Make sure you drag in your model inside the scene. So you can see it actually wherever it is. Usually when it is rigged and exported correctly, it's looking at the Z-axis over here to the right, with its face into the Z-axis, as I say, when you have the selection of the pivot point selected in here. What I also want to make sure is I disable that feathers, because they are rigged badly, or actually are not will actually, we are gladly linked to this, so we don't need the feathers in here. So what you can see, this guy automatically has an animator controller on it, but what we need to do is we need to create an extra controller for this guy so we can drag in the correct animations directly inside of this guy. And that's what we're going to do first. So what you can do is actually in the player or in the mail player, it doesn't really matter which folder you're using, but make sure it's somewhere in the mail player. And here we're gonna right click and create a new animation controller or animator controller, this one over here, and we can call it whatever we want. We can call this one just night, or if you want to be more precise, you can see can tell AC_night. So this is going to be our animator controller, which is later on animating all the animations depending on whatever the states are and the bools we set when we request everything inside. So what we want to do is we want to drag this AC night directly inside the animator controller on that. If you have a model later on which has the pivot point not on the feet, then you might want to do the other version as I showed before of the player in here. So we set an empty game object and use this to navigate through or over the navigation mesh later on. So yeah, keep that in mind. So what with that AC night controller set it up, we can actually open the animator controller window. So this happens by automatically when we double click the AC night controller, and as you can see there's currently nothing in. What we can do is we can actually find some idle states and idle animations, which we currently have in the roots anim female folder in here. So this is basically a folder where all the female animations are inside, but still we're gonna use them for now. So inside of that I'm gonna find some basic information or basic animations inside. So what I'm after is at first a combat idle animation. So I need to find the right one, which is one-handed. When you have found your animation, as you can see, you can always preview this one and play it. You can see, okay, this is going to be the one-handed combat idle state. And I want to drag this one from here directly into the animator component. So actually, usually when you now press play, you should see the idle animation is going to happen. Okay, and this is what we're gonna see in here. So we now know we have the connection to the one-handed combat idle already set it. Okay, so when it comes to walking, we of course need a walking or a walk animation. Maybe there's the running one, I'm not 100% sure. Let's see what that is. Well, yeah, we have a run animation in here, but it does not look great. We could use that. Instead, I go and use the one-handed walk, which is this one. So we go to a particular point and use the walk animation when we set the correct bull. Don't forget to drag this one inside of here, and we can create actually transitions from the combat idle or your idle animation to the walk animation and a transition back. What we also can do is actually create a bull which is called is walking with a small I in the beginning, as we already have written inside the script. So the condition to go from combat idle to walk is actually, is walking to be true, and then it will automatically transition inside the walking state. Going back is the same, but the difference is walking needs to be false to go back to the idle state. We can always go in and say that this transition has no exit time, and same for the walking. So when we stop walking, we instantly go inside the idle state and vice versa. Okay, and we of course need an attack. It is called maybe one-handed attack. Let's see. 1H attack, it is this one, and it's just a slam with a sword actually. So I just go and drag this one in here. But what I also want to make sure is that one-handed attack is available from any state. So what we can, well, at the moment, later on we might go and change this one. So from any state I'll make a transition to one-handed attack. And we can again create another bool in here, which is called is attacking, for example. We don't have that in the script, but we're gonna do that in a moment as well. So is attacking, so if is attacking is going to be true, we need to set the condition over here to the right. If it's attacking it true, then it will play this animation, and from that we're gonna make a transition back to the idle state when the same one that is attacking is going to be false. So we actually reset it and land and back into the idle state. So what does it mean is we can, even if we are currently in the walking state, we are able to go into one-handed attack state with no problems at all. Okay, so and we keep the has exit time. Maybe for now we leave it as it is. The problem is, well, we go into that later on, will as some free moving, even if the animation has not been ended. So we need to find a way later on to cut the animation directly, or we just get rid of has exit time, but it can look awful at this particular point. What you also want to make sure is my pattern is double click the one-handed attack and go to events. What you will see is there is a /animation hit event on it. So this is coded in already from the package you just sent me. So make sure that you delete the animation event and apply the changes to the animation itself. And that should actually be everything we need currently. You can always go in and check the other ones if there are any animation events inside, but usually there shouldn't be any, and that's cool as it is. Okay, so that's everything currently for the mechanism or the animator passes over here. So we're gonna go in and check this one once again. If we wanna go and test is walking is going to be true, you can see is automatically moving forwards. So this automatically moving forward is only happening when apply root motion is on. So we disable apply root motion and test this one once again. This way we're gonna walk directly on the position wherever we are. Okay, same with attacking. When attacking is true, we're gonna go into the attacking state in here and attack as fast as we can. And maybe we're gonna need some exit times again here and there just to make sure everything is cool. So now what we want to do is, of course, we want to make sure that we are able to move our player inside the scene as we already have done with the little cube in here. So what we need to do is we need to pass over all the informations we need directly onto our player. You can always go in, of course, and rename your player if you want to. And maybe also you want to create a prefab out of this. So inside maybe the 3D models mail player, I don't know, create a new folder, call it prefabs or prefab, it doesn't really matter. I just want you to learn how to organize things later on as well. You can also go in and make a main prefabs folder. So everything we're gonna have now saved inside of the prefab will automatically change. So if we are making a change in here, it will automatically change everything inside the scene. So what we actually can do is we can copy all the components in here, or we just add them by dragging around on our player character in here. So the first thing is, of course, we want to have our nav mesh agent directly on that. Again, we can copy all the values we already have set in here by going to the small gear and say copy component. And when we're going to the player, we can at first we have the possibility to paste the component values directly on it, or when we are going to another gear, we can actually paste component as new. That's also possible in this case. So I paste all the components stuff in here, and all the values we just have set within the cube. What you can also see is now the nav mesh agent has about the size of 2, or the height of 2, where because the character is about 1.5 or almost 2 meters high. So we can actually keep it as it is. If we want to reduce the height, of course, go in and do so, but we can also reduce the radius of the nav mesh agent to maybe 0.3. So this is actually fitting more the surroundings of the character because of the hips and all the other things. And yeah, of course, the shoulders as well. So the next thing is I have a bit trouble in here because my recording software has resetted itself, so I need to figure some stuff out later on. Anyways, what we need also is our created script, which is the click to move script, and we want to again set the attack distance to be 3, otherwise this is not working. And what we also want to have maybe is a capsule collider on this. So the capsule collider actually will take care of the height or anything of our character. Maybe this is going to be the 1, a height of maybe 2, I don't know. I don't work a lot with the capsule colliders, but as you can see, you can actually shrink this one up and down, left and right, and all the other things as well. The radius is again maybe 0.3, as already the nav mesh agent is, and it looks okay for now. Okay, we go out of that. Maybe we're gonna change this one later on to be trigger, so we can actually trigger animations. Okay, now we're gonna go in and test what we have done so far, and I'm gonna show you what's happening or not. So as you can see, it loads everything completely correct. But I need to disable our old player. We don't need this anymore. And go in once again. And when we are walking around, it automatically goes into the right direction. The only thing is it's not playing the walking animation. And of course we want to make sure that we are able to attack this guy over here. So this is what we need to do in code. So we're gonna open up the click to move click to move script, and I will be back once it's open. So let me zoom in a bit so you can see stuff better. So we have created all that stuff in here. What we at first can do is we can set this walking animation state directly in here, and when we are attacking, we can call the attack. Actually can call the attack animation. Later on we're gonna split that things a bit. And also at a particular point we need to make sure that we are able to reset the attack animation. So at first, let's see what's happening when walking is going to be true, so we are able to maybe walk around and do the implementation of the attack. So at first I want to go in and just implement the anim.setBool. So we set the bool of the animation, which is called is attacking. We just created a moment ago, comma, true. So we want to make sure that this is going to be set to true. So we are able to attack our enemy, actually, the cylinder we just created beforehand. Also, what we want to make sure is at maybe in front of the transform.lookAt, is we want to set the is attacking state to be false. So we set this one to false at this point, and once the time to the next attack delay is going to be here, we're gonna set this one to true and play the attack animation. So that's the plan for now. So I go and return back to Unity. I want to make sure that I have a little attack rate of maybe 1, and I want to press play once the compiler is completely done in here. And when I now right click, you can see the walk animation is playing pretty nicely, but the problem is our NavMesh agent is a bit too fast for this particular animation, so I go and reduce the speed once again to maybe 3.5. So let's see how this is looking, and that looks pretty good. So everything is cool so far, and the blending in between that is good as well. If you want to use blend trees, you are free to do so. So now the next one is going to be a problem. When I click now the enemy in here, you can see it already starts to attack, and once it's close, it's weirdly playing. And this is happening because of the we're gonna reduce the attack distance maybe to 2 as well, so otherwise we need a way longer sword than we just expect. I'm gonna press this one once again. As you can see, it is weirdly playing, and also it's walking in between and makes walks in between, and then whenever it thinks it is good enough, it will automatically attack. But we want to make this one a bit more sexy. Don't forget to apply the changes to the prefab when you're selecting the player in here. And let's get back to coding, since we need to pass in some more parameters to check if everything is cool or not. So at first, as you have seen, the walking is pretty much bugged, and I tell you why. At first, what we're gonna do is we test if the remaining distance is smaller or equal to the stopping distance, and depending on that, we're gonna set walking and to be true or false, depending on whatever the state is. But the same is what we are actually doing here. So when the NavMesh agent remaining distance is the same as or smaller than the attack distance, we're gonna set walking to false. Otherwise, when the remaining distance is higher than the attack distance, we're gonna set this one to true. Basically, it's not wrong with that, but we need to have some more conditions when walking is going to be set completely to true or false. So this is the first one we should go in and change. And then I'm gonna go a bit deeper inside. The first one is we of course want to measure the distance to the remaining distance, but we also want to do is we want to request if the NavMesh agent has a path pending, or actually has not a path pending. So if not NavMesh agent dot path pending, you can always go in and read is a path in the process of being computed but not yet ready. This is a read only function. So if our path has not been set, or actually has not been computed completely, and the NavMesh agent remaining distance is smaller than the stopping distance, only then we're gonna go and walk. So also I want to pass this one over in another else statement, and in that else statement I want to do that. So if the enemy has been clicked, we're gonna do the move and attack stuff. Else we're gonna open close parenthesis or curly brackets in here. And inside this else statement, we're gonna pass in all of those functionality in here. So the complete if statement with the path pending stuff and so on is only working when we are not doing the movement stuff. That, in my opinion, is important. Otherwise, we're gonna have 2 times the same stuff And this way we're gonna avoid that the move in the text stuff is trying to override the stuff which is going to happen in here. So I just want to make sure that these two parts in here are not at the same time computed. We can also go in and create another else if statement actually for this part, since we actually have implemented the not navmesh agent.pass pending. We want to implement this one in the second line or in the else if statement as well. That means we're gonna do the same in here. We check if the pass pending is not if it's not computed actually, and of course the navmesh agent stop distance is bigger or equal to the remaining distance. So in this case walking is going to be true, otherwise it's false. So we just change those two signs or operators in this case, but we request the same at the very beginning. Don't forget to save often. What we also want to do is we want to do the same check when we are computing the navmesh remaining distance to the attack distance. Otherwise, again, we're gonna have that weird animation. So I actually just copy this part and pass this one over into this line of code in here. So if the navmesh agent is pending and navmesh remaining distance is higher than the attack distance, we're gonna do the stop. And in the else if statements, we're gonna do the same. We're gonna request the navmesh agent.pass pending once again. So if it's not already if it's not pending anymore and everything is computed already and the attack distance is higher than the remaining distance or vice versa, then we're gonna do the rest inside of here. Okay, so one more thing we need to do at this point, and I will go into that in a second. I just want to show you what we have done so far. Let Unity compile everything in here, so we're gonna see if there are any errors or typos or whatever. And we press play. And now we're gonna move around in here. That's pretty cool. And this is still working the same way, but when I now press on my enemy in here, you can see he's at first approaching the enemy. He's not doing the walking and attack animation anymore at the same time, and everything is cool. There's one more thing we can actually still go in and pass over just to make sure everything is cool. And I just want to test something different in here. No, that's cool. I believe we can leave it as it is. Because sometimes it happened to me just when I was trying to attack this guy, and while I am in the attack state, it would give a sliding animation. So I would slide in the last frame or the first frame of the idle instead of keep exiting or actually keep continuing to create this animation until the end, so the hit animation in this case. So but I believe this is part of the animator, as I said before. Again, still I want to make sure that I go and pass in one more little requesting, or actually one thing before we go and continue, and this is after we gonna click the button, the fire button. I want to make sure that we reset the path of the navmesh agent. Maybe later on it's not needed anymore, or we're gonna test this one out in a second. This is just because sometimes if the mesh is not, or the navmesh agent is not computed anymore, we might want to go in and reset the path. So we just call navmesh agent.reset path, and that's it. Because sometimes navmesh agent.remaining distance is going to be 0 before the path is actually calculated, and that could be a problem here and there, but I believe we have just fixed that by the navmesh agent.pass pending, as we already have created or actually passed over into the other if and else if statements. Again, don't forget to save. We're gonna test this one out right now if there's any change. If not, we could also get rid of it. So I press play once again. So every time I click, I reset the navigation mesh path just to make sure everything is cool. And let's see, we're gonna attack this guy. Yeah, he is still ending the attack animation, and then he's turning back and go into the walking state, or depending on whatever the state is directly after. Pretty cool. So yeah, we are done with the basics of using a complete character if you have animated one or just bought one from the shop or the market, and everything is cool. If you have the issue that the player's pivot point is not on the feet but in the center or somewhere else, or you have weird or wrong rotations on that, you need to go into the part I just showed you beforehand, where we just actually took an empty game object as a root for the complete character. The problem with that is if you have another one as a root, another game object as a root, you need to go into the coding and request the animator component, this one, from a children. So the children directly under this where the click to move script is on, otherwise the animations will not work. So if you later on have any monster or anything else where the pivot is wrong and the directions could be somewhere, I don't know, weirdly calculated and inside, you can always go in and get the component from the children of this particular character. So according to what I just said is only if you have an empty game object as a parent, you would say anim is going to be equal to, anim is going to be equal to get component in children. So not the one with the S, this would return an array of children, so you just want to go into that. And you do the same. So you want to get the animator component directly from the children in here. So animator with a big A, of course. And open close parentheses as you see before. I believe that should be it when the animator component is directly on it. I'm going to comment this one out pretty quick just to make sure everything is in here. And when I press play now, I will get another reference since there is no animator component in the children over here. And also the animations will not play or shouldn't play actually. Well, it still work. I don't know why. Usually it shouldn't. Maybe I haven't saved. Well, I have saved. I don't know. Again, if you do that this way, it is not a problem at all. But yeah, you need to have a parent object which is empty, so you get the correct rotations and the correct positions directly in that. Okay, one last thing I want you to show you before I end the video in here. Gonna press start, and I want to show you what the feeds are doing. As you may not see in the preview, but I can show you when I show you the nav mesh. So I go pretty quick to the navigation, and I go down a bit more. What you can see, the feet are sticking into the nav mesh, but also you can see the nav mesh is lifted a slight bit over the terrain or the plane we currently have. And the same is happening, as you can see on the shadows in here, the same is happening to our character. But we want to make sure that the character is not lifted up, but we want the feet directly on the ground. And I'm going to show you what's happening and why or how we can fix that. So the first thing is we're gonna select our player and go to the inspector, and we want to see what the transform in the Y value is. And what you can see, the Y value has, for me now, a 0.0833 and so on and so forth. What we want to do is we want to fix that value down until we hit the ground once again. If you encounter any other value because you have a higher density in your nav mesh, then check this value out in here. For me, it's currently 0.08. I ignore the other 3 numbers in here. And we have in our nav mesh agent a base offset. And this base offset is basically we can offset the base of the navigation mesh into plus or minus. What I want to do is I want to decrement the offset by 0.08, as we already have seen. No, not 0.8, but 0.08, like this. And of course I want to apply the changes to the prefab. So what's happening now is that the base of the the base of the nav mesh is going to be down minus the 0.08 as an offset, but still works. And I want to show you how this is looking right now. So we are going with our feet directly inside the navigation mesh, but we are still on the plane, as you can see over here. The feet are still sticking a bit inside the ground, but this is animation stuff. We cannot actually do anything against it, except we would go into the animations and would recreate them. But as you can see, now we are directly on the ground. Also, the shadow is going to be seen correctly right now, so it's not somewhere in the air, but directly starting on the ground where the feet is. And that's everything I wanted to show you. And of course, because of the little offset, it should automatically have no problems with leaning forward when we are going to attack this guy in here. And as you can see, it's not leaning forward anymore, as the cube has done before, because now the offset and the goal is actually about the same. And that's everything I wanted to show you in this little tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, if you liked that video, of course, don't forget to thumb this one up and so on. And yeah, feel free to become my patron as well to support this series as much as you please and like. Don't forget to save everything, and I'm going to see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye. Thanks for watching the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumb this video up if you like it, and feel free to become my patron or donate by using PayPal to support me and my channel in the future. All links will be below in the description. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.